Okay, today we're looking at lesson 7.1, relate multiplication and division. It's kind of like relating addition and subtraction, they're inverse operations. Our I can statement today, let's everybody read that together. I can use related multiplication and division equations to solve problems. Okay, on our Spark Your Learning, what are these groups of stamps? What do we call that when we have rows and columns? Starts with an A. An array. The little plot shows you that each one of these little squares is a plot. Like sometimes when you plant a garden, you have your own little plot. So, Spark Your Learning. Jackson's family grows vegetables in a plot in their town's community garden, meaning they have a big spot where people can go when they stake out a rectangle or a square, and that's your spot. You can plant what you want in there. Represent and describe the arrangement of the plots in the garden. So if we're going to represent it, let's do it with a bar model today. But we need to count our rows. How many rows do we have? 4 rows. How many columns are there? Please put a 4 by your rows. How many columns are there? 5. So we have a 4 by 5 array. So our rows are divided into groups of 5. So we have 4 groups of 5. So we're going to kind of draw a bar model here. We're going to have 4 groups, and we're going to put 5 in each of our groups. Okay? So there's our represent. Okay? So we can describe that just like I said. We can say there are 4 rows of 5 plots. All right, so if you're at home watching, we described it with words, 4 rows of 5 plots. So how many plots are there all together? Boys and girls here in the room, how many plots are there all together? Huh? 4 rows of 5 plots equals 20 plots. Okay? What if we were to write that into a equation? What would our equation look like? We'd have 4 rows of, 4 rows of 5 equals 20. If we wanted to write a division equation, what would that look like? Okay, can you tell me? 20 divided by 5. 20? Let's divide it by our rows. 20 divided by 4 equals 5. Okay? Okay, we've turned our paper over. We're on page 172. We're talking about Jackson plants pepper plants in 3 equal rows. He plants 18 plants. How many plants are in each row? So if we're going to draw an array, what are we going to start with? How many rows does he have? 3 rows. So we're going to make 3 rows. And we're going to keep adding to those rows until we get to what? 18. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Hopefully you're a better array drawer than I am. So how many plants are in each row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? and we have, whoops, and we have 3 rows. So we have 3 rows of what? Okay, let's go down and answer this question. It says, how many plants are in each row? How many plants were in each row? 6. 6 plants. What multiplication and division equation can you write to model the problem? So what would be our multiplication problem? How many rows do we have? 3 rows of equals. That was up in our original problem. How many? 18. Okay. So 3 rows of 6 equals 18. Now, oh my. If we're going to divide, what would be our division sentence? We always start with our largest number. What's our largest number? Very good. 18 divided by 3 equals 6. What's this say over here? Inverse operations. What did I tell you inverse operations were? Okay, so let's read it together. Look on your paper. Inverse operations are opposite operations. Multiplication and division are inverse operations. Okay, so how are the equations the same and how are they different? What is the same about each of these equations? They use the same numbers. What is different? They have different operation signs and the numbers are in different order. Okay. All right, so if you're at home, please go ahead and turn off your video or pause your video and get this written down. The equations have the same numbers, the operation signs are different, and the numbers are in a different order. Once you have it written, you can start your video again. Okay, go ahead and turn to your next paper, page 173. And we're going to have a new scenario here. Zoe plants 5 equal rows of lettuce plants. 1 row is shown. How many lettuce plants does Zoe plant? So how many are in each of her rows? How many lettuce plants? Look at the picture. How many lettuce plants are in each row? 3. So it says she plants 5 equal rows. So we're going to make a bar model again. Whoops, I don't want it to be a circle. And then we're going to divide it into how many equal rows does she make? 5, right? So divide your bar model into 5.
How'd you draw that so good?
I used my shape tool. Mine aren't quite equal, but try and make yours equal. And how many lettuce plants are in each row? How many is in our picture? 3. So we're going to put 3 in each of these boxes.
So this is what you did.
So after you've drawn your bar model, how many lettuce plants were in each row when we looked at our picture? There were 3. What multiplication equation can we write for our model? How many rows did we have? 5 rows with 3 lettuce plants in each row. And how many is that? 15 plants, right? How do these equations show how multiplication and division are related? Okay? Okay, I had a little help in the classroom and I was supposed to write an equation for division and a multiplication. So we're going to make 5 times 3 equals 15. And our division sentence is going to start with what? 15 divided into 5 rows equals 3. Okay, so this was a lot to write, so we are going to talk about it here in class, and then you don't have to write it. And if you're at home, you don't have to write it. I can write a multiplication equation or a division equation to model the same problem, which we did up here in B. The factors in the multiplication, the 5 and the 3, are the divisor, that's the number we're dividing by, so the 5, and the quotient, which is the answer in the division problem, are the same. And the product is the same as the dividend. So the product is this, right? The answer to a multiplication problem. And the dividend is what you're dividing. So those are the same. And we have talked about how that larger, if you're looking at these related facts in the division, your answer to your multiplication problem or your product goes at the first of your division problem. Okay, so go ahead and go on to check your understanding. If you're at home, stop your recording, answer them, and then I will put the answers in. Please try and solve it on your own before you come back to the recording. All right, so hopefully you stopped your video and tried to do these if you're at home. So if we picked 12 tomatoes, she put the same number of tomatoes in 4 bags. How many tomatoes does Sophia put in each bag? Write an equation to model. Now I would write a division equation because I started with 12 tomatoes and I put them into 4 bags, and that would leave me 3 tomatoes in each bag. Okay, you could write 4 times 3 equals 12. Jonah picked 2 ears of corn from each of 8 corn plants. How many ears of corn does Jonah pick? Write an equation to model the problem. So he has 2 ears of corn from 8 corn plants. So he gets 16 ears of corn. Or you could write a division, 16, but you would have to figure out divided by 8 equals 2, or you could say 16 divided by 2 equals 8. If you're at home, we did not do the back here at school because I could tell that everyone knew what they were doing. So if you're at home and you need some extra practice, I'm going to fill in the back of this worksheet, and then you can do it and check. If you feel like you know what you're doing, you can go ahead and go to your homework. So on the back page on number 3, I just crossed through that. Here are your answers to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And you can continue on your homework. Be sure that you put labels on the ones that need labels. 1, 7 needs a $sign. 11 needs a label. 12 needs a label, and 13 needs a label.